Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So we're back with an updated complete guide for Caitlyn herself. Now obviously Caitlyn, longest range ADC in the game, very strong S tier ADC because of the buffs to Stormraizer, which obviously benefit her a ton, and just basically a very strong ADC in general, and in a very good spot in the meta. So as usual for our updated complete guides, I'm going to refer you guys to the original complete guide for the skills and leveling order so that we don't have to waste time on covering those, and this can be a shorter video. So without further ado, we're going to jump straight into the build. And the build isn't really very complicated. It's a pretty, what I like to call the very standard ADC build of patch 3.1 plus. So the build goes, you start off with the Stormraizer, of course, for the AD crit as well as the attack damage, and of course the slow on the passive. Then you go into the Infinity Edge combo. So this gives you this gets you up to 50% crit, of course with the increased crit damage on the Infinity Edge, as well as giving you 55 more AD. Now this gives you a total of 95 AD in 2 items, which is why this combo is so strong. Now I'm going to briefly discuss the boot enchant. Generally you go for the Gluttonous Greaves because Caitlyn doesn't really have any lifesteal aside from the Gluttonous Greaves and the Hunter Vampirism. So for the enchant, you normally go for Stasis, but you can also go for QSS, or you can also go for Protobelt. Now, Protobelt you do take relatively often, maybe 40% of games. The other 60% of games you generally take Stasis, because while Caitlyn does indeed have a dash on her E, the cooldown is pretty long. Sometimes you use it to chase, sometimes you use it to escape, but it is down, it can be down, you know, at the start of a fight or something, so Protobelt having an extra dash is really helpful. So after that, you go on to your third item, which will be an energized item. Now for me, as you guys know, I normally always prefer the rapid fire cannon because of the safety. Giving yourself extra range means you can stand further away, means you can, you know, attack enemies more easily while remaining safe. So I like to go for rapid fire cannon. In this slot, some people can go for the static shift as well. Now with the static shift, you basically get a lot more damage, and you also get that AoE slow combining the static shift and the Stormraizer passive. Now after that, as your second last item, you want to go for the Mortal Reminder for, of course, the Grievous Wounds as well as the Armor Penetration. Now Seralda's Grudge not really good here, because on your W already root, slow has not much of a use. Your E, you know, you're not using it to slow, you're using it either to gap close or to put some distance between you and enemies. So your Q is your only main way of applying the slow, sort of similar to Xayah, and your ult also not very useful for putting on the slow. So Seralda's Grudge not a very good item on Caitlyn in general. Now for the last item, you know, I always go for GA because in solo queue you can't really rely on your teammates to keep you alive, so you got to buy the GA to keep yourself alive. Now I know a lot of people now don't like taking GA, but I'm one of them who does like taking GA, so I will always go for GA. Now of course, we already mentioned going for a static shift as your third item instead of rapid fire cannon, but some other variations in the build is, if your GA is down or if you don't want to go for GA, you could of course go for the whole suite of triple energized items. Not too sure why my game is kind of getting stuck here, but yeah, you could go for the static shift as your last item. Now I cannot click, or I can click the screen now. Not too sure what that was all about, but you can also go for the Bloodthirster as your last item. Personally, if I were to choose going for a last item that's not GA, I would go for the Bloodthirster because this gives me, you know, even more AD, more crit. And, you know, obviously this will make it 100% crit, same as if you built static shift. But this one gives you the 15% physical vam, which obviously in a very low physical vam build, and as your last item, I feel that that is going to be really helpful, you know, for the cause. So here, another item you could build is the Maw of Malmortius. Of course, if you're against a very heavy AP team, that could be an option as well. So that's pretty much the build for Caitlyn. Now we can talk about the runes and the spells. Now for the runes, obviously we go for Conqueror. Conqueror is simply the best rune at the moment. Really easy to stack up, really easy to proc, and therefore, you know, increases your damage output by a lot. Then for the second one, Domination, you always go for Hunter Vampirism because you need Hunter Vampirism to get the lifesteal. Without the lifesteal, you know, you're not going to have any way of regenerating health aside from maybe an Ocean Dragon or Honey Fruit. So you kind of really need that Hunter Vampirism. Resolve Rune, same story as always, and as I say, you know, in every single updated complete guide or supplementary guide, etc, etc. It's between Hunter Titan, Adaptive Carapace, as well as Bone Plating depending on what you need for the situation. Hunter Titan for heavy CC teams, Bone Plating for heavy burst teams, and Adaptive Carapace for a stronger laning phase. Now for the last inspiration rune, I actually like to take Sweet Tooth. Now I'm going to explain why. Caitlyn doesn't really need Mana Flow Ban because she's not mana hungry. Caitlyn doesn't really need Hunter Genius as well because her traps, you know, the cooldowns aren't that important. Q cooldown isn't really that important. E cooldown is arguably the most important, but even so, I don't think you need an entire rune for that, and the rest of the runes just don't really make sense. So I just take Sweet Tooth simply because there isn't really any better rune. So might as well go for Sweet Tooth for that little bit of bonus sustain in terms of health and mana, as well as the little bit of gold you get when you pick up the Honey Fruit. Now finally we're going to talk about the spells, where obviously we take Flash, and Exhaust is the general spell you take as the second one. Now of course that is the meta spell for ADCs, going for Exhaust, but of course you can also opt into a barrier if you so choose. Heal isn't really good on ADCs anymore. So with all that out of the way, all that covered, we can now move straight along to the gameplay. Alright, so here we have the Caitlyn gameplay. Now as usual, you guys know what happens when we get to this point of the video. I'm going to remind you guys to of course like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoy what you are seeing so far, or to support the channel in general. And of course any remarks or queries, feel free to leave them in the comments below and I will be addressing them of course. Speaking of the comments, someone in the comments a couple of days ago actually requested, not really requested, but more like asked if I will be doing a Caitlyn guide, and I did reply that I would be doing a Caitlyn guide coming up real soon. So here is that Caitlyn guide that, you know, everybody wanted, or that guy at least wanted, but I was always intending to make a Caitlyn guide. So here we go. So we're up against a Morgana. We managed to get the headshot off on her. She does hit the root on us, but she eats a number of auto attacks and a W from Nami, as well as a couple auto attacks from me. So overall we win that trade because we basically half-healthed the Morgana, whereas the Jinx was way too busy CSing to help Morgana in the trade. So overall we come up on top of that trade, dodging the Morgana binding, and I have my headshot up again, so I'm gonna headshot the Jinx. Morgana shield doesn't really do anything here. Morgana eats the bubble and gets first blooded. So as you guys can see there, Caitlyn combos very well with anybody with CC. So in this case it's the Nami. The moment Nami hits the bubble, I walk up, put a trap directly under them. So the moment they get out of the bubble CC, they land on the trap and get rooted. So the Morgana was just stuck there forever. And that allowed me to get in a lot of free auto attacks. Same goes with the Caitlyn. I'm not the Caitlyn. Same goes with the Nami. So because of that, we get an easy first blood. We can push in the wave and get a reset. Likely I can pick up like a BF sword, and the lane is gonna snowball from there. So this is not going to happen very often in every game. You know, not every game you're going to get someone caught out and get a pick like basically a minute into the game, of course. But Caitlyn is a very, very lane dominant champion. Now, I did make a video quite a while ago on how to dominate lane with Caitlyn, like permanently shoving your opponent under tower, harassing them such that they have a hard time CSing. They just don't want to play the game because you know, just getting destroyed like Caitlyn in game. So you can look at that one if you want to see how that one goes. So unfortunately Morgana's shield kind of hard counters Nami's CC, and you will see this a lot of the time throughout the game where, you know, the shield allows her to immune the CC of Nami. So now in this case, we managed to chunk out the Jinx instead because at this point in time, obviously Caitlyn does a lot more damage than Jinx in the early game. Jinx doesn't do too well in the early game, although I do think Jinx overall is a better champion in the meta at the moment than Caitlyn. But early game, it's you know, indisputable that Caitlyn is stronger than Jinx. Now, kind of a little bit of a arcane showdown here with the Caitlyn versus the Jinx here. But yeah, it's really interesting. So there, I was going for the Morgana. I managed to get the headshot, auto attack, and flash away from her binding. Then I used my ultimate, the ace in the hole, to finish off the kill onto the Morgana. Now, I do believe Jinx could have blocked that one for her, and I don't think Jinx would have died, but that would have put Jinx at 1 HP. So obviously the Jinx was a little bit selfish there, or maybe was slow to react. So she didn't block for Morgana, and Morgana died because of it. So either way here, as you guys can see on the right side, I put a trap between the tower and the wall. That's one of my favorite, or not one of, but it is my favorite trap spot for Caitlyn. because with that trap spot, they basically cannot walk through that side of their tower. They are forced to go the long way around their tower, be it coming toward us or going away from us. So that is one of the best trap spots in general for Caitlyn in the lane. So here, we have the Infernal Dragon coming up in less than 20 seconds. So we're going to quickly back. We can get our Stormraizer because we got 2 kills. Now the golden rule more or less of picking up Stormraizer before Dragon is if you get 2 kills, it's basically guaranteed. 1 kill and a number of assists with good farming can also net you that Stormraizer before first Dragon. But otherwise, it's a little bit difficult. You're likely to only have the BF Sword and the Kirkai Shard because you won't be able to combine it into the Stormraizer. So now we have the Stormraizer. We're really strong at the moment. We're going around the trap, seeing if we can, you know, get a fight onto the bot lane. Really nice bubble by Nami, but yet again, it gets immune by the Black Shield from Morgana. So, Black Shield from Morgana really counter CC very well. That's kind of the main reason why you pick Morgana, honestly. It's mainly for the shield and that, like, 4.5 second root in the late game. Speaking of which, I do get hit by it. Thankfully, it doesn't last for too long. Here, we have basically the whole team, aside from the top lane, in the skirmish for the Dragon. My my ulti plus Veigar ulti manages to finish off the Akali, and we can try to zone them away from the Dragon. And yeah, so in the meantime, it's a trade Herald for Dragon. Camille goes for the Herald and we take the Dragon. It is of course Infernal Dragon, so it's going to come in handy later on at the later stages of the game with that damage increase. So here we get off a nice dive onto the enemy bot lane. Now honestly, this could have been a better dive now because I was pushing in the wave to crash it into the tower, but Xin Zhao went in just a little bit too early. If he let the tower go in first and then dive later on, we probably could have easily gotten both of them. Now here, Jinx, for some reason, decides to disrespect me and not back away, which allows me to actually auto-attack her like 2 times and manage to land my E onto her, my net onto her to allow me to headshot her for the kill. But if she wasn't so cocky, Jinx would have actually stayed alive and we would have only gotten 1 kill. Xin Zhao, if he went in a little bit later after letting the minions tank the tower and walking straight up to them without aggroing them, we would have easily gotten double kill. It was a guaranteed double kill, so a little bit misplayed on our part, but in the end, we still pick up the kill anyway, so we're really good. We're 4-0-1. Now we're doing all good. Stormraizer, Cloak, and some Boots of Speed in our inventory, so we're doing really fine. So, as we all know, Caitlyn has a very strong early and late game, but a pretty weak mid game. There's only one way you can mitigate the weak mid game, which is to get super duper fed. You can get so fed to the point that your weak mid game isn't weak anymore. Now, we will actually see that in this particular game. You don't see that in every Caitlyn game. I made a number of videos on Caitlyn, and you normally don't see that very often. Now, here I get aggroed under the tower and rooted, so I have to flash out, hit the exhaust immediately on Akali to make it difficult for her to engage onto us. In she comes with her E, but very, very nice disrupt by the Nami on the tidal wave to disrupt the Akali E. Really beautiful. Here I'm getting my ace in the hole down to help Veigar out in getting that double kill. So overall, Akali came for the gank, Veigar came for the counter gank, and eventually the 3 of us kill all 3 of them. So basically, it couldn't really have gone that much better for our team. So, yep, pretty much we're doing really well. We're getting the snowball rolling and it's picking up speed. So, you will see that this game is a very, very snowbally game. Kind of can tell already from at this state of the game. But yeah, we snowball to the point that Caitlyn's weak mid game is kind of nullified, and that is really the only way you can nullify the weak mid game of champions like Caitlyn and Tristana, where they're strong early and strong late, but they have a weak mid. So the only way is to just get so fed that, you know, the enemy team can't do anything about it. But of course, that will be the ideal scenario for any ADC, be it a early game ADC, a late game ADC, or, you know, those kind of early and late ADCs like Caitlyn and Tristana that are weak mid. Any ADC you would want to get fed on, obviously, so I guess this kind of stating the obvious. But here we can force down the tower, and Morgana, for some reason, walking up to get the root. The Caitlyn tanks it for us. Of course, we can see, not Caitlyn, Nami tanks it for us. We can see Akali's coming in. I don't care about the Akali. I'm going straight for the Jinx, and I'm going to finish off the Morgana as well with my ace in the hole. Veigar rotates very well yet again. I have to commend the Veigar that Veigar is matching all of Akali's roams. The moment Akali roams, Veigar roams as well. So every time Akali comes to mess with us, mess with us, Veigar comes down as well to mess with them. So so far, especially because my team is more fed, it has been working out very swimmingly for my team. Basically, we always come out on top thus far. So really, we're doing really well now. We are 7-0-2 with both IE as well as the Solari. Not Solari. We have both IE as well as Stormraizer completed, as well as the Gluttonous Grease. Solari Charge Blade isn't a good item anymore. So here we're setting up for the next dragon. It's Ocean Dragon, so we decide to go for Ocean Dragon because we see Camille in the top lane, so it's basically free. Now, of course, on the flip side, we might have to trade a Herald for it, Camille being at the top side. Veigar is going toward the area to see if he can do anything about the situation. But yeah, Dragon has been secured, and we might even be able to get Herald if we rush there in time. I have to walk around the traps the long way around because Jinx put them down. We can see them at the Herald, so we're going to see if we can disrupt them. Unfortunately, they already pick up the Herald, but we can see if we can turn for the fight. I used the net to actually close the distance to auto attack on the Morgana to get the assist. And yeah, we're basically doing really well at this point. Here, I'm kind of waffling between going top and going mid. I decide to eventually defend mid because there's enough people at top. But of course, I don't want to walk just straight in there in case Akali just goes onto me. Now here, I'm just trying to DPS the Jinx, out her as well for good measure. She's really low. She can't join the fight. Here, I'm just auto-attacking Akali and chasing her down. Now just look at this huge damage just from like my normal auto-attacks. Becoming legendary as well. Of course, with the combo of Stormraizer and IE, your auto attacks do so much damage. That's why Stormraizer plus IE is such a good combo, for ADCs at the moment. Unfortunately, Nami does end up sacrificing her life on the play because Set did come in, with his suplex, with his ultimate, and yeah, she did tank it for us. So the rest of us are kind of safe. So here I pick up my Zanya's Hourglass, so now I'm pretty much safe against that Camille ultimate and Akali if they try to go in on me, or if Set somehow manages to grab me for his ultimate. So here, I kind of want to take the red buff, but I see a wave in bot, so if I go for red buff, the whole wave is going to die. So instead, I'm just going to quickly clear out the bot wave and get the push in the bot lane. Now in the meantime, the enemy team is sort of conducting a tower dive onto our team, at the mid lane tier 1, and they are doing pretty successfully at this point in time. So here I'm seeing I can help out. I'm going to try to launch a ace in the hole from downtown on the Camille, but I don't really see too much happening because they're going to just retreat to the tower and there's not much we can do anymore. So instead, I'm just going to take the red buff, take advantage of this opportunity. They will die, of course, if they stick around when the tower dies, or if they get overconfident, which they looks like they did not do. So not going to waste time on that. Set is coming in from behind, so I'm going to just go help out my team so that we can deal with the Set in case he goes in. But he decides against it. 1 Q to instantly clear the wave. Really nice how much AD we have that the Q can clear the wave pretty much instantly. And yeah, so just send a couple of random traps. Now normally I don't advise you do this, to set a couple of random traps in the area. Normally you set up traps at places where you think fight is going to break out, or you know a fight is going to break out, especially at objectives. The traps are really useful. Putting traps at choke points when you're getting chased, or yeah, hard to do that when you're chasing someone because they're going to be ahead of you and the trap takes time to arm. But regardless, basically my team at this point is we're not that far ahead. We're about 4k plus goals ahead, so we're not like ahead by leaps and bounds, but we're ahead by enough such that there is a very significant lead between us and the enemy team. Here Set tries to go in, tries to hit his Proto Belt, but he can't really close the gap kind of far enough, so unfortunately he doesn't actually get a hold of us. Now top lane tier 1 surprisingly is still standing after all this time, so we're just gonna go for top lane tier 1. I actually get ulted by the Set. I don't actually take tower aggro because either someone else has it, or if not, I didn't actually attack them in the first place. Here I'm 1 HP, I actually stasis to allow the Nasus to finish him off, and I actually managed to survive. Just by the skin of my teeth, honestly. Getting grabbed by the Set there was not really that good, not the best in the world, but hey, these things happen, sometimes it's a little bit unavoidable. So here we're just going to take a back and pick up the rapid fire cannon. So at this point, triple crit item already, we're really strong, and we have my favorite dragon, the Cloud Dragon, spawning in. So we can see Akali in the top lane, Jinx is in the mid lane defending the wave together with Morgana. So for now, it should be relatively free. My whole team is here. We set up the vision around the area. I set up the traps so there's no Enemy team doesn't think of, you know, any funny shenanigans, and we secure the dragon without them even being in the vicinity. So triple dragons for my team already. We're doing pretty well. Akali gets caught in the cage and pretty much one shot. I auto attack her for the assist, but yeah, Jinx rocket comes flying in and hits essentially nobody. Here I'm just popping their fruit, taking it and putting the trap there to make sure that they don't walk into the fruit lest they take a huge hit shot. So here Camille tries to come in from the side to flank. She goes onto the Veigar. Thankfully she didn't pick me. Veigar actually still manages to survive. In goes the set, dunking me into the Veigar. But he haymakers in the opposite way to hit my team instead of me, so I'm fine. Here I'm gonna ult to finish off the kill onto the Morgana, and we get a very clean ace. We did of course lose one member of the team, with being the Nasus, but you know, with that we can try to push onto the inhibitor. Now I say that, but Akali actually goes in and pretty much you know, almost destroys us, but we live on a sliver of HP again. Veigar is pushing the inhibitor by himself. On hindsight, I should have been there to help him, so he could have done it faster, but it doesn't really matter because he gets the solo goal, and the entire enemy team hasn't even spawned yet, so it's a relatively safe play that couldn't really go wrong. So in the meantime, I pick up the huge wave in the bot lane, because obviously we didn't get the local goal from the inhibitor falling, so we gotta make up, kind of, sort of, quote-unquote make up for it somehow, and we're gonna just take the red buff again as usual. And then we're just gonna go back to clearing the bot wave, because obviously the enemy team has had a huge bot wave just pushing into us. Now that we've cleared the bot wave, our wave will actually start to slow push into the enemy team, so the enemy team will have to respond to the bot wave sooner or later. If not, the bot wave is going to just take out the tower by itself. So, you know, this setting up a slow push in the bot wave is very useful because Baron is up right now. So when we eventually move to contest the Baron, which appears to be pretty soon, the enemy team is going to have the issue of having to clear the bot wave or coming to contest the Baron. Now, it could always be the case that if they choose to contest the Baron with us, the minions will simply just take out that tower in the bot lane, the second tier tower. And as you can see, we're deep into the fight. I try to flash forward, but I'm way out of range, so that doesn't really work out. Here I ult the Jinx to just finish off the kill since she's pretty much 1 HP. And yeah, so we pretty much win the fight off of that. And we don't really even need the Baron, we can simply just push on to win the game. But you can still see that slow push in bot wave almost crashing into the tower already. So if, for example, at this point in time we were contesting Baron with the enemy team, they would be busy losing their tier 2 tower at the same time. So either way, here we have the victory. And you know, as usual, I'll leave you guys with the stats to take a look at. And thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.